everybody. Welcome. Here we go. It's Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM and on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's a glorious day here in Manchester. Of course, we're streaming everywhere at WMNHradio.org. And this is the part where I usually say, and on the Facebook, on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. And I think it is. It looks like there's people listening on Facebook, but it's kind of messed up. We had trouble with it yesterday. Peter had trouble with it this morning, and then we thought it was fixed, but it's acting all wonky again. It's doing the same thing to me now that it was yesterday. So not sure what's going on, but we'll muddle through. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Eazy-G.
Eazy-G, haven't heard from you in days.
Yeah, so I've been listening, not calling. Hey,
yes.
Facebook wasn't working for Peter White either.
Yeah, well, it looks like now. I'm looking at it on the big monitor here, and there are a couple of people in there, but I'm not able to see it on my browser. And
oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm not able to get your show on my Facebook page either.
Well, some people are getting it. Angela Philbrook just popped in. Miriam Banish is in there.
I'm not getting it.
And Tracy Gray. But
Facebook can be really crazy. Yeah, it was funny because I tuned into the Rush Limbaugh show at noontime, and I heard the news that he had passed away.
Yes, Rush Limbaugh, dead at the age of 70. Yeah. How do you feel about it, Eazy-G?
You got to remember, though, he was a big, heavy smoker back in the day, so they didn't do him any favors, did it?
No, and it was, in fact, lung cancer, apparently, that killed him, ultimately, so.
He has stage 4 lung cancer, though.
That literally is what I just said, yes.
Yeah, I put him on my Facebook page. I said, love him or hate him, he was one of those characters that he was loved by a lot of people and hated by a lot. So who do you think's going to take his spot now that he's gone?
Oh, I don't know. Can anyone really take the place of Rush Limbaugh?
A friend of mine gave me a funny response. He says, "How about that former president? He's not doing anything." Donald Trump.
Yes, well, that would be a venue for him to launch his re-election campaign too. I guess maybe I don't know.
He's not doing anything right now. So.
Well, he's doing plenty.
Fighting all of the lawsuits.
He'll be spending a lot of time in court, I think. It'll be very exciting. Very exciting post-presidency.
But that would be interesting, though, wouldn't it? Donald Trump taking over. You did give him the Medal of Freedom last year.
Yes, the Congressional Medal of Freedom, or was it or was it something else?
Yeah, I used to be a big fan of Rush Limbaugh, but I have to admit I'm not really a big fan anymore. But I read one of his books back in the day, and I used to listen to his radio. He's got a crazy TV station, half-an-hour show. Do you remember that years ago?
I do remember that. That was actually... I remember because they ran it on Channel 9 here in Manchester. It was, for people who don't remember, it was a nationally syndicated half-hour, as you said, Eazy-G, television show. It was like a mini TV version of his radio show. That didn't last very long. He didn't have the same
No, it was only
success
like 11:30 at night, though. It was on a crazy hour.
Yeah, he didn't have the same success with that he did with his radio show. His radio show, I would say... After Howard Stern, I would put Rush Limbaugh at number 2 in terms of just going by numbers, like him or not. And I didn't like him, to be honest.
Towards the end, he was making $30 million a year.
Yeah, I'd put him at number 2 as far as the most successful radio broadcasters of all time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Truly an icon, like him or not. And like I said, I think that he contributed mightily to the toxicity of the political dialogue in this country, but he has passed away, and that is sad. I'm not gonna. Some people, I see online people who didn't like him are kind of dancing on his grave, and I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of guy either.
I'm not gonna present a eulogy for him, but I'm not going to. I'm certainly not gonna dance on his grave either. Yeah.
May he rest in peace. That's all you can say at this point.
Yes, you can say that, and you do.
When he's gone, when you're gone, you shouldn't speak bad about the dead.
There's exceptions to that,
True, but people say that, well, he's not around anymore, so what's it going to hurt him,
Right. What's it going to hurt him? So might as well talk badly about him.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Hopefully, when I pass someday, people won't say anything bad behind my back. But you never know; they might.
Well, you know what, Eazy-G? We will all be mourning because I'll tell you what is Scott Robinson going to do without his Amanda McCarthy tour dates?
Yeah, true. I got a couple new ones today. I just wrote them down this morning.
Well, we're going to need you
a couple new dates on the horizon for.
Well, we're going to need you to stay healthy. Then.
Yeah. Amanda McCarthy, yes.
We're gonna need you to stay alive then, if you don't mind.
I got one more. I got one more April Cushman date too, so that's a good thing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you had one more year in you, and then you were gonna die. And I was gonna be like, no, we want you.
She got to do merchandise out, but for some reason it's not available at the moment. So
we want you to be around for at least
get a hold of April Cushman
at least
T-shirt.
2 or 3 more years. Oh, an April Cushman T-shirt. Yes. Hopefully you can help her.
I got a Save Peter White T-shirt this morning from his better half today, Stephanie.
Yeah, what? Stephanie gave you a Peter White T-shirt?
Well, he gave it to Peter White, and Peter White gave it to me this morning.
Oh, very nice! Wow,
it's an exclusive Save Peter White T-shirt, extra large.
Oh, no kidding! Oh, very good, very good. I noticed during the replay of Peter's show today, it was. Instead of from this morning, it was an older episode with you on it doing your entertainment report. I was very confused.
Yeah, I mean, I think his daughter was in the house, and then Stacy Wilcox was supposed to show up, but he did not. And I remember at the end, she was saying that that was considered that extra birthday present that he didn't show up.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yes.
He's one of those lovable characters, and sometimes you love him, and some people don't like him at all.
Right. Well,
but anyways,
a controversial figure, yes.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. All right, so I'll be coming around the horn tomorrow around 4:30. Does that work for you?
Coming around the horn at 4:30. He'll be coming around the horn at 4:30.
Try to Skype in again?
He'll be coming around the horn. He'll be coming around the horn. He'll be coming around the horn at 4:30. Yeah, you can Skype in.
Should I try to Skype in tomorrow, Matt?
Try to Skype in tomorrow. That reminds me.
All right, I'll go Skype in tomorrow. Oh yeah, I got before I leave, I got a song for you here. Here we go.
Oh, okay. You're gonna sing?
See if I can get this to work properly.
Oh, I know that song. Wow, that's great. It sounds so clear. Nice and crisp. All-righty. Wow. You know what, Eric?
I don't know how good that comes on the phone, but that was the old Rock Around the Clock from Happy Days.
You sound like you're ready to take the next step in your radio career with that.
My father gave me that card. He says, "You're not getting older." The old Fonz.
Oh, he said you're not getting older, so does that mean you're going to die soon?
Yeah, I like those talking cards.
Talking
cards.
All right,
I'll let you go.
All right.
Rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh.
All right, Eric, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. That was that got very confusing toward the end. I don't know what was going on there, but the good news is Eazy-G will be calling or Skyping in tomorrow. So I guess from the looks of this, the Facebook Live is working. So because I'm starting to see people pop up, but it's weird. It doesn't let me share it out like I usually do, or at least it didn't earlier. Let me try again. Let me see what happens here if I try to share it. Okay, I guess I can share it. I can't. It wouldn't let me share it earlier. And it keeps saying, sorry, having trouble playing this video. It's being very wonky. And like I said, this morning, I don't think Peter White was able to go out on the Facebook at all. But I do see folks in there now. So we'll say hello to everybody in there. So it's kind of working on my end. And I assume you're all actually hearing the audio in the chat room. So let me know how it looks on your end. Oh, and before we go any further, I'm going to throw this out there now, because I'm going to need you, those of you in the Facebook live chat, or if anyone wants to call at 603-250-6007, you can offer your input as well. But at some point, and we've done this once before. I need to know which direction to go with this. At some point during today's show, I am going to read aloud because I enjoy doing that. I hated it when I was a kid, but I enjoy doing it now. When I was a kid and I'd get called on in class to read aloud, oh my God, I was mortified. But I was very shy. I'm going to read aloud in its entirety Donald Trump's letter to Mitch McConnell. But I need to know, this is what I need your help with. Would you prefer, and you can vote on it, informally, of course. We'll see what the feedback is in the Facebook. If someone calls and gives feedback on this, that will count as two Facebook Live comments, though. We have to weight these things. When I read the letter, do I do it doing my impression of Donald Trump, which is admittedly very, very poor, and I sound nothing like him. But I do enjoy, for those of you watching online, you can see I kind of enjoy doing the hand motions that Trump does when he talks. I throw that in when I do the impression. But as far as how my voice sounds, I sound nothing like him. My impression of him is terrible. I still enjoy doing it, which is why I'm willing to read the letter doing my terrible impression of Trump. Or do I read the letter not as Trump, but rather doing my patented dramatic reading? Do I perform the letter as a dramatic reading for all of you, which I do love to do, and which, by the way, would be my preference. So if I don't get any feedback from you all, I will default to that. I will do a dramatic reading. Melanie Fedderson says, what about as Scarlet from Gone with the Wind? That would need some rehearsal and preparation, Melody. I'm sorry. Plus, I don't know if you can even do that anymore. Is it even okay? I think, who was it? Was it Netflix or somebody? They pulled down Gone with the Wind, and then they re-added it to their service, but with a disclaimer at the beginning because, there are things about it, obviously, that are problematic. Rob Dion wants a dramatic reading. All right. So we've got one vote for, well, you know what? I'm going to count Melanie's comment also as a vote for a dramatic reading because if I were to do it as Scarlet from Gone with the Wind, it would be very dramatic and would sound nothing like Trump, obviously. So that's 2 votes for a dramatic reading. So if anyone really wants to hear my awful Trump impression, which you probably don't want to because, well, it's awful, then, But if anyone wants to do that, you better hurry up. Melanie says, what about as Norman Bates dressed as his mom? Again, that's something, if I'm going to make an attempt at that, something so cinematic, I'm going to want some practice, and I just don't have time. But we do have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Eazy-G again. I'll put my vote in for a dramatic reading.
A dramatic reading, and you actually called.
I love it when you do the dramatic readings.
Well, and you included a compliment, so that counts as 2 votes. Eazy-G. It's probably going to be a dramatic reading. I think that's where we're headed with this.
I got a question before I hit the road from the phone call.
Yes.
That didn't make any sense. Anyways,
that's okay, Eazy-G.
Oh my God. Anyways, I just cooked some roast. I just cooked some pork chops and some pasta. You were a fan of those foods?
Pork chops are okay. Not a big fan. I'm kind of indifferent to pork chops. Pasta I find quite delicious.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I thought Eazy-G for a second there. I thought he was going to go for a Brady Bunch reference and say pork chops and applesauce. Peter White is in the Facebook live chat, by the way. So Peter's probably trying to figure out, because I texted Peter a few minutes ago and I said, hey, Facebook Live seems to still be messed up. And then I texted him again and I said, actually, I think it might be working. Oh, and he said, good. Yeah, but it's not working the way it usually works. It's hard to explain. Anyway, I don't mean to bore you all with these technical kerfuffles and quandaries. That's a fun phrase, though. Kerfuffles and quandaries. I'm going to try to work that in more, if you don't mind. If you all don't mind, you might often hear me speak of kerfuffles and quandaries just because it's fun to say. Let's see. Before we go any further, and yes, so it is settled. We will have a dramatic reading of Trump's letter to McConnell in just a little bit. But I do want to remind you all, of course, that we are proudly sponsored by the Hopknot, and it's Wednesday, which means they are open. Their week goes from Wednesday to Sunday. They take Monday and Tuesday off, but they're open today. And they have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. They have trivia night now on Thursday nights. Everything is very safe there, which is one of the reasons why we're so proud to have them as a sponsor. The staff is masked at all times, even out back in the kitchen. The tables are nice and spread apart, and they do clean and sanitize and disinfect and all of that consistently and diligently, because they take COVID-19 very seriously there. So, and they have those really cool Hopknot face masks. They're only $10. And if you wear your mask, say you place an order for takeout and you go to pick it up, if you wear your Hopknot face mask, and you do have to wear a face mask when you enter the building, if you wear your Hopknot face mask, you get 10% off your order. So it's almost like a frequent shopper card that you wear on your face. How great is that? The Hopknot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. So, of course, the station here is sponsored by Queen City Cabinetry. Our friend Mike Pelopita. I haven't seen him pop up in the Facebook live chat yet, but we usually do. Of course, the way it's being so wonky, he might be in there and I just can't see him. But Mike, of course, from another one of our great sponsors here at WMNH, Queen City Cabinetry. He's a big supporter of this show and the morning show with Peter White and all of our shows here. Big supporter of the station. And, of course, the Regency Collection, another one of our newer sponsors. And, of course, the OG of WMNH sponsors, CGI Business Solutions. They've been here. They were here before I was here, actually. They were here from the very beginning. So we have a wonderful family of sponsors here, and could be some more coming in the future. Let's see. Let me give the numbers, and then we'll say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text us at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton. Please follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so already. And, of course, you can always email me, Matt at mattconnerton.com. And you can also, if you go to mattconnerton.com and click Listen Live, on the Matt Connarton Unleashed page on my website, there's a place where you can leave comments there. So if you're having difficulty leaving comments on the Facebook, although I guess it's working okay now, but you can also leave comments on my website in real time during the show. That is an option available for you. Let's see. All right, let's say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. And then I have to tell you, I am somewhat excited about doing this dramatic reading. And I intentionally did not pre-read the entire letter yet, because I think it's fun to be surprised, and that kind of causes me to have to kind of improvise my performance a little bit, which is fun. Let's see. So we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. Hello to Tracy Gray, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Tracy. Miriam Banish says hello. Miriam is a top fan, by the way. Angela Philbrook, also a top fan. Angela says, good afternoon. My Facebook alerts told me I am a top fan now. If this is true, my mission is now complete and need a new goal in life. Angela, I can confirm for you, as I gaze upon the Facebook live chat on my end, yes, it does designate that you are a top fan. Well done, my friend. This is a great day. It's a great day for you. It's a great day for me. It's a great day for all of us. And we do need to get you a new mission, because you have much left to do. Scott Robinson is in the Facebook live chat. Scott says, is this a preamble to the entertainment report? Well, Scott, Eazy-G will be joining us tomorrow via Skype to do his entertainment report. Scott Robinson, of course, probably Eazy-G's biggest fan, and a big fan of the entertainment report because he needs those Amanda McCarthy tour dates. as do we all. Tom Blanchard is in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Tom. Rob Dion, I mentioned. Melanie Fedderson, I mentioned. Let's see. Bobby Champagne is in the chat. He says, someone has stolen my top fan status. Any guesses on who, Angela? The plot thickens. Well, I don't know if there was a plot to begin with, so I don't know if the plot really thickened. If there was no plot, there would have to be a plot to thicken such a tangled web. By the way, I don't know if anyone else, if this happens to anyone but me, I wake up every morning with a song in my head. Every single morning, I have a song playing in my head when I wake up. For the longest time, it was the Egg on My Face song, that song we play sometimes for Eazy-G, or sometimes Eggman by DJ Midas. You know what song it was this morning? So completely random. It was, is it called Get Down on It, I think, by Kool and the Gang? Remember that song? You youngins have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's what I heard in my head when I woke up this morning for no apparent reason whatsoever. I woke up and in my mind, I was like going, get down on it, get down on it. That was after the phone call I got from Peter White this morning. Trying to figure out what was going on with the Facebook. But yes, and then I fell back asleep. But then when I woke up an hour later, I was hearing in my head, get down on it. It was very odd, very odd. I don't know why. That song does ask some compelling questions, though. If you think about it, if you think about the lyrics, like, how are you going to do it if you really don't want to dance? With your back up at the wall or something. Get your back up off the wall. All right, let's see. So this is from Newsweek. Oh, boy. I'm going to need... Oh, Brian Mackey, all the way from Idaho, is in the Facebook live chat. I'm going to need a big gulp of water before I do this, my friends. This is going to be a very exciting, dramatic reading. And it will probably be challenging because it was written by our former president, Donald John Trump, who... it probably has a lot of big words. He's a voracious reader, and he has quite the vocabulary. Obviously, I'm kidding. All right, let me get this gulp of water here. Hello to Wayne Noel, who joins us all the way from Michigan. All right, big gulp of water. By the way, if you're not aware, it would appear that Mr. Trump is a bit upset with Mitch McConnell. Because Mitch McConnell... if you don't know, gave quite a speech when he explained why. It could have been a speech for the prosecution when he explained why he feels that Donald Trump is directly responsible for inciting what happened on January 6th. Oh, and while he was at it, he did just briefly mention why he had voted not guilty, but then went on to talk about why Trump is guilty. It was actually, I thought it was the best speech Mitch McConnell ever gave because I entirely agree with him. All except for that voting not guilty part. Okay. So, but he did eviscerate Trump in his speech. So Trump is very upset. So here is Trump's statement, and I will now perform this in the form of a dramatic reading. The Republican Party can never again be respected or strong with political leaders like Senator Mitch McConnell at its helm. McConnell's dedication to business as usual, status quo policies, together with his lack of political insight, wisdom, skill, and personality, has rapidly driven him from majority leader to minority leader, and it will only get worse. The Democrats and Chuck Schumer play McConnell like a fiddle. They've never had it so good, and they want to keep it that way. We know our America First agenda is a winner, not McConnell's Beltway First agenda or Biden's America Last. In 2020, I received the most votes of any sitting president in history, almost 75 million. Every incumbent House Republican won for the first time in decades, and we flipped 15 seats, almost costing Nancy Pelosi her job. Republicans won majorities in at least 59 of the 98 partisan legislative chambers, and the Democrats failed to flip a single legislative chamber from red to blue. And in Mitch's Senate, over the last 2 election cycles, I single-handedly saved at least 12 Senate seats, more than 8 in the 2020 cycle alone. And then came along the Georgia disaster, where we should have won both U.S. Senate seats, but McConnell matched the Democrat offer of 2,000 stimulus checks with $600. How does that work? It became the Democrats' principal advertisement, and a big winner for them it was. McConnell then put himself, one of the most unpopular politicians in the United States, into the advertisements. Many Republicans in Georgia voted Democrat, or just didn't vote, because of their anguish at their inept governor, Brian Kemp. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and the Republican Party for not doing its job on election integrity during the 2020 presidential race. It was a complete election disaster in Georgia and certain other swing states. McConnell did nothing and will never do what needs to be done in order to secure a fair and just electoral system in the future. He doesn't have what it takes, never did, and never will. My only regret is that McConnell begged for my strong support and endorsement before the great people of Kentucky in the 2020 election, and I gave it to him. He went from 1 point down to 20 points up and won. How quickly he forgets. Without my endorsement, McConnell would have lost, and lost badly. Now his numbers are lower than ever before. He is destroying the Republican side of the Senate, and in doing so, seriously hurting our country. Likewise, McConnell has no credibility on China because of his family's substantial Chinese business holding. He does nothing on this tremendous economic and military threat. Mitch is a dour, sullen, and unsmiling political hack. And if Republican senators are going to stay with him, they will not win again. He will never do what needs to be done or what is right for our country. Where necessary and appropriate, I will back primary rivals who espouse making America great again and our policy of America first. We want brilliant, strong, thoughtful, and compassionate leadership. Prior to the pandemic, we produced the greatest economy and jobs numbers in the history of our country. And likewise, our economic recovery after COVID was the best in the world. We cut taxes and regulations, rebuilt our military, took care of our vets, became energy independent, built the wall, and stopped the massive inflow of illegals into our country, and so much more. And now illegals are pouring in, pipelines are being stopped, taxes will be going up, and we will no longer be energy independent. This is a big moment for our country, and we cannot let it pass by using third-rate leaders to dictate our future. And scene. You know, even though I didn't do an actual Donald Trump impression and instead went the dramatic reading route, as so many of you voted for, I still feel that I was able to really just just become the character of Donald Trump, even without the impression itself. I feel like I was able to just embody him, or he embodied me, or however embodying works when you're doing a dramatic reading of something someone else wrote. By the way, he obviously had a lot of help writing that. The part I got a little stuck on, I did get a little stuck on one thing toward the end. You may have noticed I started laughing a bit when he said, our economic recovery after COVID was the best in the world. I'm sorry, what is this after COVID that you that he's talking about? After COVID? I think we're still kind of in COVID. I think this is still what you might consider during COVID. But he's always been he's always kind of jumped the gun on that. I mean, he actually, some of you might remember, he actually had the gall, or his campaign had the gall on the Trump campaign website under list of accomplishments. One of the accomplishments listed was defeating the COVID pandemic. This was as numbers were spiraling out of control, his campaign website actually listed defeating COVID, or confronting and defeating the virus, or however they put it. So Trump, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Dick Cheney, back during the W administration, would talk about, not ISIS, Al-Qaeda, in Afghanistan, and referring to them as, they're just about done. There's just a few dead enders left, and he actually used that term, just dead enders, and then, of course, things started getting worse as soon as he said that. And it's like, well, not really, Dick. I think you're trying to paint a rosy picture, but, I remember what it was now. Trump too, he would say in these campaign rallies, he would talk about how, we had turned the corner on COVID as the numbers were getting worse and worse and worse. It's like, yeah, we turned the corner right into hell, buddy. But thanks for the good positive words there. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. It is interesting to me that, the media has been talking about this civil war going on in the Republican Party. It's a civil war. The establishment wing of the party, represented by the likes of Mitch McConnell, versus the Trump wing of the party, represented by everybody else, almost everybody else. And it's just interesting to me. I don't think there's a civil war here. I think that the people who are a bit more, shall we say, sensible, are becoming the outliers. They're becoming the fringe. I mean, polling data shows 85% of Republicans believe that Biden stole the election from Trump. I mean, it's the party of, it's like I was saying yesterday, it's the party of Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and QAnon and Ron Johnson, who we talked about yesterday, who's now trying to spin this whole narrative that the insurrection wasn't even that big of a deal. And, I mean, it's incredible. It's still very much the party of Trump. I mean, McConnell can say what he wants because, he's safe. I mean, he just won re-election. It's a 6-year term in the Senate, so he doesn't have to worry about getting primaried for another 6 years. Well, 5 years, from now, he'd need to start running for re-election again, but he'll be in his mid-80s. I mean, this might be his last ride anyway. So Tom Blanchard says, I can't figure out if he's an optimist or oblivious, I assume referring to Trump. I think we can, I think he just, some combination of the two. We'll put it that way. Brian Mackey says, yeah, so what's the deal with Biden's rollback on the student loans? Well, that came up last night at the town hall, which I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing yet. I've only watched some of it. But Biden was asked about that, and Biden is, we're seeing centrist Biden in action in a sense because, the liberal left of the Democratic Party, folks like AOC, the Squad and everybody, Bernie Sanders, of course, they want to see student loan forgiveness. Elizabeth Warren has advocated for that, student loan forgiveness. And what Biden seems to be saying is he supports a partial forgiveness. I think the figure $10,000 was bandied about. But he has said, and he didn't try to get cute with it. He flat out said he's not interested in doing total loan forgiveness, but he's willing to do something. So kind of split the difference. I mean, Biden isn't going to get on board with total student loan forgiveness because, as I've tried to tell people, of course, a lot of Republicans don't want to hear this. They think Biden is just they talk about him like he's a puppet of the left and he's just there to institute AOC's agenda and all this. It's like, no, Biden is a centrist. He is a standard centrist, corporatist, Northeastern Democrat. He's not, he's not the left-wing radical that some people want to make him out to be. So he's not going to go for a full student debt forgiveness. He's just like he's not going to go for Medicare for all or any number of other things. But there may be a partial student debt forgiveness. And it's an interesting subject. I have my own mixed feelings about it. I mean, I understand, some people say, well, I had to pay all this money for college. Why should students of today or people who are students recently get their debt forgiven, this and that? But there is an economic argument in favor of it that if that student debt is out of control in this country, which it is. Tuitions have gone up exponentially in a relatively short period of time. And the economic theory is that if you relieve some of that student debt so that people don't spend the rest of their lives trying to dig out of it, then they have more disposable income to then put back into the economy. And that ultimately benefits everybody. I think... And again, I'm not trying to make the argument for them because I'm undecided. I see multiple sides to this argument, so I'm not even sure where I come down on it yet. But I do think that those who advocate for a full forgiveness of student debt, they miss an opportunity in how they argue it. They tend to. And I noticed this about Elizabeth Warren, for example, when she was running for president in this last election cycle. I noticed this during the debates. They tend to argue for it by focusing on, look, our young people, who've graduated college recently. You've got an entire generation of college graduates who now they're forced to live at home. They can't get jobs that pay enough to actually make the payments on their student debt. And they're in these terrible economic straits. And I think that, yeah, you should make that argument, sure. But I think a more effective argument would be you have to explain to everyone how, even if you're not in that situation, how a forgiveness of student debt might benefit you. And that's where they fail, in my opinion, to make their case. And again, I'm not necessarily trying to make their case for them because I'm still not sure how I feel about it myself. But the way I think they should make the case is, I'm not saying, you ditch the other argument, but you can make multiple arguments to bolster your case, is you explain to people that reducing or forgiving student debt might benefit the economy in the macro sense. And that benefits everyone, because if people aren't paying out, if these college graduates aren't spending all that money to pay down their debt, then they're able to use that disposable income for other things. That income, some of that income that was not disposable now becomes disposable because they can use it for other things. And anytime anyone spends money, you're putting money into the economy, and that, in theory, helps everybody, because if the economy does better, everyone does better. Now, that's a hypersimplification, but it's a basic economic argument for why you should do this if you do believe that you should do this. Anything that's going to spur economic growth is probably a good thing. anything that's going to have a stimulative effect on the economy, especially with the current situation that we're in now, is probably a good thing. And as I say on the show all the time, we're all Keynesians now. We're all students of Keynesian economics to some degree. I mean, when you've got a Republican governor like Jim Justice in West Virginia who says, look, now's not a Republican governor who says now's not the time for austerity. Now's the time to go big. Do the $1.9 trillion. Just do it because we have to do it to save the economy. You have to go big. Because it's not just about bailing people out. Of course, that is a very important reason to do it, right? People who are hurting, people who can't afford food. Food insecurity is at an all-time high, or at least its highest rate in this country since the Great Depression. People who are losing their homes. Obviously, you have to help people, but that also has a stimulative effect on the economy because that money is then getting spent, I mean, even rental assistance. I mean, if you help people pay their rent, well, that money then goes to their landlords and they're hurting too. Everybody's hurting. So get the money circulating, get the money moving through the economy. And, nobody disputes that, it would appear. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a conservative, maybe Rand Paul. I don't know. I mean, he's more of a libertarian, but I mean, there aren't too many Republicans who would dispute that you need to do that, right? I mean, everybody, obviously Republicans, because they want to pretend at least to be more fiscally conservative, even though we know they're pretending most of the time. But, but they want to go big. Everyone wants to go big. It's just a matter of how big. But I think President Biden is correct when he says the risk is not going too big. The risk is not going big enough because it's going to take a lot. Tom Blanchard, by the way, in the chat room says, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to bank that check. Well, I mean, that does raise a point in that's why we were talking recently on the show about means testing. Why, and this tends to be a Republican construct, this idea that you should do means testing where you're not going to get the help if you don't need it, because there is, to Tom's point, and it is a valid point, there is economic data that shows that with these two previous stimulus payments that we've done during this pandemic that we've had, there was a significant amount of people who just put the money in the bank. And if it's sitting in the bank, it's not actively stimulating the economy. But means testing, as we discussed, and we got into this at length last week on the show, the problem with means testing is you have nothing else to use other than everybody's 2019 tax returns. And unfortunately, for millions of Americans who are in trouble, what their tax returns look like in 2019 is not, for many, is not a particularly accurate representation of what their current economic status is in 2021. You could have had a great 2019 and made lots of money, and on paper you look like you couldn't possibly need any help from the government. Meanwhile, in between 2019 and 2021, something happened, 2020. And you might have had a great 2019, and then in 2020 you lost your job, or you lost your home, or you lost your business, or, so if you're going to put that money in the bank, Tom, go ahead. And millions of Americans might put that money in the bank. But by the way, the savings rates of Americans, those Americans who are not spending the money but who are just putting it in the bank, that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? We like to see higher savings rates. And of course, savings rates are extraordinarily low right now because so many people have depleted their bank accounts just trying to get through this, this economic depression that we're in. And it certainly is a depression. So let's see. I think what we'll do, we're at the top of the hour. Let's take a break. And I'm a little, I think I know it. You know what? Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to play. I haven't played this in a while. Play a little Fight the Power. I'm a little bit sorry if I seem underprepared. I I was trying to, I spent a lot of time. If you were here since the beginning of the show today, I spent a lot of time at the top of the show. Thank you, Jared. Jared Martineau in the chat says, "Hey Matt, move your mic. We can't see that handsome face of yours." Thank you. Well, I move all over the place, so you gotta be sharp and catch a glimpse of my handsome face when you can. But at the top of the show, I was desperately trying to figure out whether the Facebook live feed was working or not. And it seems to be. It's still wonky on my computer, but it is working on the big monitor here. So I guess it's working, and I can see your comments. So we'll play a little something, and then we'll come back, and then we'll get into hour number 2. More Matt Connarton Unleashed coming up. Don't go away, my friends. Welcome back, everybody. We are well into hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester, streaming at WMNHradio.org, and on the Facebook on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. Let's see. It is, what is the date again? It's been a hectic afternoon. It is Wednesday, February 17, 2021, and we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Elizabeth Ropp.
Hey, Elizabeth Ropp. I was thinking about you earlier.
Well, yeah, today is kind of a day that, I remember being on your show.
Yes.
And we were talking about Rush when he got his presidential medal.
Yes.
And we got into a lot of trouble.
Yes. Well, that happens sometimes on a show like this.
Right. But honestly, I'm happy today. Ding dong, the Rush is dead.
I can't do it.
Sorry. You
don't have to apologize to me. I can't. I can't dance on his grave.
I know you can.
You are free to do that. I don't judge you. I was not a fan. I think he contributed mightily to the toxicity of the political discussion in our culture, and and he was very dishonest, and he spread a lot of misinformation and disinformation and
misogyny.
Yes. Yeah, and he got in trouble from time to time for some racist things that he said, and so I'm not. I just can't. Cancer is a terrible thing, and I don't. I can't be happy that to see that happen to anybody, but
it totally is. I had forgotten why he died, because I just was like, all right, he did a lot of damage in his lifetime, and he did live a really long life, and so part of me is like, yeah, he got a long life to do a lot of terrible things, and it's a relief that it's over, but the after effects are going to be sticking with us for a really long time.
Yeah.
So, the glee, the superficial glee I might feel is going to be really glib. After that, it's back to, oh, yeah, things are really, really toxic right now.
Yes.
And he was a big part in making it toxic.
Well, Trump gave his first interview since leaving office to Fox News, and I didn't get a chance to really listen to the whole thing, or if I even want to bother with it. But apparently, he credits Rush Limbaugh for helping him become president, and he's probably right about that. I think Rush did help pave the way for Trump.
Yeah. Even though he said he didn't like him, just arrogance and entitlement and misinformation and the divisiveness and yeah.
Rush, he said it was early on, right? He said he didn't like him, but then of course he flipped because they all flip when they realize that not liking Trump might affect their bottom line.
Well, yeah, it's not like Rush Limbaugh was going to vote for Hillary.
Right, of course. But so many of these guys, too, early on, they would, like Glenn Beck did that. Glenn Beck, very early in Trump's candidacy, was pretty merciless on Trump. And then, of course, he was a never Trumper in the beginning. But then, of course, eventually when Blaze TV, or The Blaze it was at the time, and now it's Blaze TV, when they started to see their viewership and their readership plummet, Glenn Beck, he got on the train. He had a conversion. He suddenly realized what a great President Trump was, and got on board, just like they all do. Or what's the guy, Eric Erickson from Red State? He did the same thing. He was a never Trumper, and then he suddenly realized what a great president. And and then of course people like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, and they're all just so pathetic. Yeah. They're so pathetic. But
totally pathetic.
Yeah, but Trump, Rush did that too. Rush was against Trump in the beginning, and but of course he came around because it's all about. I mean, there's nothing sincere about these people. It's all about their business. And with Trump, business is good if you're a Republican, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to call in. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, anytime. And it's nice to hear from you. You should call more often. I'd say
I should.
I'd like to see you in the studio more often, which I would like to, but of course right now we're keeping a pretty tight bubble around here. But we haven't talked. I mean, how have you been?
Overall, I'm pretty good.
Good.
I'm really lucky. I went back to work after 4 months of having to shut down. I got the second COVID vaccine.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. And I'm just, kind of like you, I'm just keeping it on the down low.
Yeah, absolutely. You were closed for 4 months? Wow, I didn't realize.
Yeah, the clinic was closed for 4 months, and I did a lot of writing, and I took a lot of walks, and I've been cooking a lot of new things, and I don't mind staying out of the way. Like I got, for 4 months I got paid to stay out of the way, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I got back to work.
Yeah. Is it weird though? Like, because obviously you're back to work, but I assume things are very different in terms of, precautions and protocols and so forth.
Definitely. Yeah. We follow strict protocols, and people have there's some people who've really sort of been like, hey, it's not even this strict at my doctor's office. And then I've said, well, that's because they're considered essential and we're not. So we're actually held to a higher standard.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. But you were able to get the vaccine. So that's good.
Yeah, it is really good. And I can say I didn't feel great after the second vaccine. I had some mild symptoms, but I felt better the next day. And I know some other people who felt really, really terrible, but then, just you get some rest, you just take it easy, try to get the second vaccine when you got a couple days off if possible.
Yeah.
So that way, if you have any symptoms, you can kind of just rest it out and wait it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting vaccinated. I'm expecting to be eligible sometime between hopefully eventually and who the hell knows, somewhere.
Yeah,
in that,
exactly.
Somewhere
with my husband.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere in that time frame. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll run into him on the day at the vaccine place wherever we.
Yeah, you go up to SNU, and it's the parking lot, and it's the National Guard, and they just kind of like weave you through sort of a vaccine drive-through. Oh,
really? Oh, so you didn't even have to get out of the car?
Nope, I sat in the car. I kept the butt warmers on.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And by the way, how long between shots, between the first and second shot for you?
It was pretty much a month to the day.
A month, okay.
Yeah, so I got the vaccine the day after Groundhog Day, and it felt very fitting. Like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing again at roughly the same time. But they had kind of changed the setup of the parking lot at SNU and how you wait and where you wait, but you're basically just in one long car line.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you have to wait in line?
I want to say something like 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't long.
Oh, not bad. Wow, that's
and
great.
And then they ask you to wait in your car for 15 minutes afterwards just to make sure you don't have any allergic reactions.
Yeah.
But yeah, you roll down your window or you open your door and they shoot you. And then you just drive over to a parking space and sit for a little bit.
Yeah.
So bring a good book or like have a great local radio station on.
There you go.
Sit and listen for a little bit.
There you go. Absolutely. Oh, very cool. Well, good for you. Well, I'm glad you're vaccinated, and you should plug the. Do you call it I forget what you call it. Do you call it a clinic?
Well, we call it a clinic, but the official name is the Manchester Acupuncture Studio.
Yes.
And pain is the most common thing we treat, but I just think that everyone should know, because I know that there's a shortage of mental health workers, because a lot of people are really seeking out therapists right now because anxiety is high and depression is high.
Yes.
But acupuncture is a really, really great nonverbal therapy for working on, just regular sort of like mental well-being, anxiety, stress, insomnia, just like getting in some like general relaxation. And so I can't really stress that enough at this time. And we're super affordable. And we're just over on Hanover Street in next to the Aloha restaurant in the East Side Plaza. Yes.
Very, very convenient. And no, that's wonderful. Well, all right. Elizabeth Ropp, the Acupunk. Thank you so much for the call, my friend. It's wonderful to hear from you.
Yeah, good to hear from you too. Have a great evening.
All right. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was very nice. Yes. Haven't talked to Liz in a while, but acupuncture is useful for a lot of things. And I have not had the actual acupuncture, like the full, putting the needles in and so forth. But I've had the she actually on a couple of occasions when she's been on the show, she brought, what are they called? Ear seeds? It's like an acupuncture thing, but you put them in the ear, and it helps with anxiety and things like that. We have another call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, how you doing? This is Ron.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
Thank you. Very good. I was really touched by that, not touched, lack of a better word, by that last caller. So in your behalf, I really tip my hat. You've got a lot of respect and integrity, and she should learn from you. You don't have to like someone, but the hurtful way that she came about it was a laugh and a joke. That's somebody's parents, someone's father. You know what I mean? Just all of the above. We're human.
Yeah.
So don't spin on someone when they're under the ground.
Well, I mean, thank you for what you said, Ron. And by the way, for the record, I think Elizabeth has a lot of integrity also. I think everyone kind of has their own level as far as empathy for others. And, I mean, like I said, I don't, I can't go there. I could not say what she said, but I don't judge her for what she said. I mean, she has a right to feel that way. I mean, because
she does have the right to feel that way, but just being moral, have some morals, and look, I mean, everybody's got to have some type of morals. So, I can't. I won't even push it any further because in reality, I'm just a sheep. I listen to the people that are on the radio and on TV, and I learn from everybody else. Maybe if I heard what she had to say, I might learn something from her. But I just kudos to you.
Oh well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate it very much, my friend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was Ron. Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I mean, you understand my position on it, but I don't want to judge. Like I said, Elizabeth has a right to how she feels, and the thing is, I can't. Even if I wanted to, it wouldn't really be fair for me to make any kind of a judgment about someone else. And I saw a lot of it on social media, a lot of people dancing on Rush Limbaugh's grave, and a lot of other people mourning him. And, and it cuts pretty much down party lines. But, see, I can't judge because I know there are other people who I think, let me put it this way. I want to be very careful about how I say this. there are other people in this world who I think are so detestable that I would feel no different about them than Elizabeth feels about Rush Limbaugh. So I don't know if I would verbalize it, but I'm not going to judge her. And I'm not saying that I had a problem with what Ron said either. Ron has a right to his feelings, just as Elizabeth has a right to her feelings. So I'm not making any judgments about how anyone feels or what anyone says or how they express themselves. But I can tell you, I have to come at it from a place of non-judgment, because even though I would not say what Elizabeth said, that doesn't mean that there are not people about whom I feel the way that Elizabeth feels about Rush Limbaugh. I mean, I think Rush Limbaugh in a lot of ways was a bad guy, but I don't feel about him quite the way Elizabeth does, which is part of why I wouldn't say that. But there are other people about whom I definitely do feel the way about them, the same way that Elizabeth did about Rush Limbaugh. There are certainly people in this world who, you know, could die and it would be in the news and I would be like, good riddance. But I probably wouldn't say it on the air, but I also have to hold myself to a certain standard as the host of the show as well, you know, so I have to be sensitive to that. But at the same time, I'm glad that Elizabeth feels comfortable calling into my show and expressing herself how she wants to. So I don't know. Yeah, this stuff is complicated. It's a, yeah, actually, I just remembered something too, because Elizabeth was talking about the last time, I think it was the last time she was on the show, actually, when this subject came up, when Rush Limbaugh was first diagnosed with cancer, when it became public, you know, and she had said something about she was looking forward to dancing on his grave. And I was like, well, I can't go there. And I think I had even said, you know, I have to, while I don't like the man, I have to at least respect that he's very successful as a broadcaster in political talk radio. And then Chris James called, and Chris was upset with me. And I think Chris was being serious, actually, when he was bothered by me saying anything even remotely positive about Rush. But I was just but I wasn't trying to say I was a fan of Rush Limbaugh, because I was not. But as a broadcaster, I cannot ignore, good, bad, or indifferent, probably largely bad, but I cannot ignore the impact that he had on talk radio. And the fact is, he may have helped save political talk radio, because AM radio, and again, this isn't to you know, positively eulogize him in any way, but if we're really being honest about it, just as a broadcaster, I cannot ignore that AM radio. See, when I was a kid, I remember hearing adults talk about how AM radio specifically, not FM, but AM was on its way out. AM was all but dead. No one was listening to AM. Why would anyone want to listen to AM radio when they could just listen to FM radio? And the sound quality on FM is so much better. And AM is, mostly oldies stations anyway. And AM radio, when I was a kid, sometimes had this annoying, and those of you old enough to remember know what I'm talking about, this annoying whistle that you would hear. It was very, AM radio sometimes sounded very strange. And so it was considered to be on its last legs. And you know what saved AM radio? Is political talk. Political talk radio is what saved AM radio. And Rush Limbaugh, arguably the most successful political talk show host in the history of radio. And I would say, and I've said this for years, and again, this isn't to compliment him or to say anything positive or negative. It's just the reality of it. Rush Limbaugh, I said for years, was in the top 2 of most successful broadcasters. This is just going by the numbers in terms of how much money he had earned, how many stations he was syndicated to, things like that, those kinds of metrics. I would say Howard Stern, who I am a fan of, a huge Howard Stern fan. Howard Stern, number one, the most successful broadcaster in history. But I would put Rush Limbaugh at number two in terms of money earned, syndication, and influence in the Republican Party. The thing that I always had a big problem with, though, is, and if you're a regular listener of my show, you'll know what I mean when I say this, is Rush, I feel, not only did he help poison the dialogue in this country, the political dialogue, not only was he extraordinarily toxic, and I think his show kind of became the template for that, for that very toxic form of conservative talk radio. And I say that form of because not all conservative talk radio is toxic, in my opinion. It may surprise some of you to know this, but there have been some conservative talk show hosts who I actually like. But Rush really, I think, made the template for that very awful sort of conservative talk radio where, you lie and everyone just believes it. And, I mean, there's been entire books written about the lies that Rush would tell. But what I always found infuriating was the whole mega dittos thing, because I really don't like the idea of, see, again, if you're a longtime listener, you know my frustration, one of my frustrations, one of many, with the whole two-party system, with this two-party ideological duopoly that we have in this country, is that you're supposed to pick a side, left or right. And this is one of the reasons why I'm an independent. You're supposed to pick a side, left or right, and then you're just supposed to get on board with every policy and every position, that goes with whichever herd you've chosen to run with. So you're supposed to be either all in on the left or right. And then there's those people, and there's actually quite a few of us, 41% of the national electorate actually is independent, undeclared, like me, because I don't want to run with either herd, because I don't think either side is all right or all wrong about everything. But Rush had that mega dittos thing where he would actually get his fans to say mega dittos, Rush, and when they would call and they would buy stupid, the merchandise, the mega dittos coffee mugs, and put mega dittos bumper stickers on their cars. And what infuriated me about that, and still does to this day, this whole mega dittos thing, it's not something to brag about. Look, if you want to be a Rush Limbaugh fan, great. If you want to brag about how you think Rush Limbaugh is so great, fine, you do that. But it's not. But this mega dittos idea is nothing to brag about, because when you say mega dittos, Rush, what you're really saying, at least this is my perception, is I agree with everything Rush Limbaugh says. He's right about everything. I agree with him on everything, to the point that I'm actually going to sit here with this coffee mug that says mega dittos on it. And I'm going to take a picture of myself drinking out of it, and I'm going to post it online, and hopefully Rush will see it. Mega dittos, Rush. Like, you shouldn't agree with someone so much that you just say mega dittos, and you're actually proud of yourself. You want to advertise to the world that you've completely abdicated any responsibility in your own mind to think for yourself and have your own opinions. God forbid, have your own opinions and viewpoints on anything. You're just going to literally let Rush Limbaugh tell you for 4 hours a day what to think, and you're going to go, yeah, that's right, mega dittos, Rush. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Your old, or should we say your erstwhile pal, John C. Hopwood.
John C. Hopwood, how are you, my friend? I saw you out in the hallway earlier.
Yeah, the C right now is for curmudgeonly.
Curmudgeonly. Well, that's apt. I've often encountered you curmudgeonly.
Hey, yeah, you saw him. You didn't see the curmudgeon directed towards you as much as other people at the studio. Let's put it that way. But they should give Peter a gold medal for somebody out there.
You have been him. You
actually witnessed one.
You have been curmudgeonly toward Peter. I have seen that. Yes.
Now I figure I just got back from shopping after doing Ward 13 with a correspondent called Vianon. Yeah, we talked about the Kennedy assassination, but I have a vague feeling that somehow she, from the past, she might have been on your when you still had your TV show, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So
what I'd like to know,
yes,
are you talking about Rush Limbaugh because he's dead?
Yes, that is why.
Rush Limbaugh is dead.
Yes, well, I believe it's pronounced Rush Limbaugh, although Rush Limbaugh might also be dead. I don't know. I haven't checked on him.
Well, he did do a limbo dance, probably the lowest that anybody had done since the infamous red-baiting anti-Semite Westbrook Pegler in the 40s and 50s.
Westbrook Pegler, yes.
The best thing I can say about Rush Limbaugh is that he is one of those people that you feel, or I feel about. If you tell me that where he's buried, I will go empty my bladder on his grave.
You're going to upset
really
Ron.
Won't do it. So that's the best I can say.
Wouldn't do
that.
You're going to upset our friend Ron, but.
Well, I'm upsetting who?
Well, Ron didn't like what Elizabeth had to say, which I understand. But I mean, I have no problem with what Elizabeth had to say. It's not something I would say. And Ron was very complimentary toward me, so I really like Ron right now because I'm like Trump that way. If you compliment me, I like you. But are
you?
But
you
yes.
Talking about Roppy?
Yeah. Oh, you missed her call? Yes, she called in. She.
What did she say?
Well, I don't think she talked about emptying her bladder on Rush's grave, but she did indicate that she was quite happy with today's news. Yeah.
Well, I assume that she is whatever you call gender-wise, sex-wise. I have no idea because the world changed in the last year. I assume that she is, for want of a better word, a biological female. Myself, being biological male, it would be much easier for me to accomplish that feat and get away with pretty quickly.
That's true. Yes, but you did say you wouldn't actually do that. I wouldn't recommend doing that in winter. You might, you end up with an ice situation.
Then again, I am as God made me, and when you're jogging in West Germany in the dead of winter, and it's colder than the proverbial witches, you-know-what, you find out why, outside of the desert countries, they did tend to keep that certain appendage. Otherwise, you'll get frostbite.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. But, who'd want to go? Where's he from? I remember he started out sportscasting, and he was briefly a minor executive, like in marketing for Kansas City Royals. Is he from Missouri?
I don't remember where he's from originally. I do know that at one point early in his career, he had been laid off and was collecting unemployment for a while. He was on the dole, as they say. So it was always interesting to hear him on his show disparaging people who needed government assistance. Seemed a bit hypocritical, but,
Where did he live? New York?
I don't even know. I feel like he lived in California, but I'm not sure.
Well, if anybody knows, in about a month I'm taking a trip from New Hampshire down to Washington, D.C.,
Uh-huh.
across to either St. Louis or Texas. It depends on who I can mooch for, space.
Sure.
Probably Texas. And then over to New Mexico. So, if he's somewhere in the Midwest or Washington area or something, I guess I could fulfill that, what would you call it? Emotional vendetta.
Yes, you could. Wow. All right.
And I'll leave you with this.
Yes.
I used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I would listen to the giant, I was always taking classes, either at Berkeley, I'd be running down to Stanford. I'd be here, there, everywhere. And I'd be back at night,
Mm-hmm.
And I would listen to a Giants game, either the Giants, San Francisco Giants, and my National League team. And in the morning, I'd get in my car, and Rush Limbaugh would be on the radio because they were on the same station. And I used to get so mad. One time I pull into the parking lot of where we were. It's like I'm going to wipe out all sorts of cars. And, people buzzed about it. And I didn't hit anybody or anything, but a friend saw it. And he said, "What's the matter?" And I told him just what I told you. I listen to the radio, and, it's the Giants games in the morning. I get up to go to work, and it's Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
And you know what he told me?
What?
And it's probably good advice for anybody that gets their panties in a twist over somebody's political opinions. Just turn the radio off.
Yes.
Or switch the station.
Yes.
So I will leave you with that bit of wisdom.
Well, all right, John C. Hopwood. Thank you for the call, my friend.
Okay, take care. Bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. All right, very nice to hear from John. I miss having John Hopwood in the studio with us. I'd like to get past this whole COVID thing, but it's going to be a while yet, and then we can have him in. Tom Blanchard said in the chat room, "There's this guy in my shop who listens to Rush all day long. Therefore, the rest of us had to listen to him. He had it on a speaker, so the rest of us had to listen to him. Sometimes he made sense." Brian Mackey says, "Rush may have started a movement and new industry, but as a human, he was a POS, and that came out on his show. My moral opinion, people change for the worst, and he's a perfect example." Oh. Hello to Jeremy Bishop in the Facebook live chat. That's a new name in there. Rob Dion apparently enjoyed what I had to say about Rush. Tom says, "We all have our own ideas, so that's what makes America great. Did you hear about the singer in the news today who was arrested for verbally assaulting the prime minister?" I did not hear about that, but I am curious. Well, we have a little bit of time left in today's show. If you'd like to get in with a call, you can. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. By the way, there was something that popped up, not a political story per se, but this guy, what's his name? Chris Harrington or Chris Harrison from, he hosts a show called The Bachelor. And the only reason I even know about this is I heard Howard Stern talking about it because apparently he's a fan of that show. And I guess they have on this season of The Bachelor, there was this controversy. This relates to the kinds of issues that we do talk about on the show. If you're wondering why I'm talking about a dumb reality show, this controversy relates to the kinds of issues that we do explore sometimes on this program. So just bear with me. But apparently, so they have a black man is the Bachelor this season, and which I guess is a big deal because prior to that they'd only had white men, but then it turned out so one of the contestants on the show, pictures surfaced online of back in 2018. this woman, I forget her name, whoever the contestant is, she had attended what is called an antebellum party. And I guess an antebellum party is something they do in Texas. And, of course, Texas is in the news a lot because they're freezing. I guess this is a thing. This is so creepy to me. It's a thing where I guess everybody goes and they dress up and they pretend it's the old South. And you know what I mean? And there was a part of what reminded me of this is Melanie had made a comment about Gone with the Wind earlier in the chat room in the first hour of the show. That's got me thinking about this. So it's an antebellum party that she had attended where she was dressed up like someone, and they celebrate wistfully another time, when the South was, the South. And this is something that goes on apparently. And so this became a controversy, and I guess somebody asked the host of, Michael Alberber says antebellum parties are what Paula Deen used to hold. I guess somebody had asked the host of The Bachelor, not actually on The Bachelor, but in an interview about this incident, about the controversy. And this guy, Chris Harrison or Harrington, whatever, he's now stepped away from the show. I don't know if he's been fired or if he's taken a leave of absence. Apparently he's hosted the show since the beginning. But instead of doing the smart thing, which would be to, find a way to not comment on it and lose this very easy and lucrative gig that he has, he decided to open his mouth and express his thoughts on this controversy. And he ended up, this is why he got into trouble and why now he's not on the show anymore. He basically defended the contestant and started talking about, I don't have the sound clip. I hadn't planned on talking about this, but Melanie mentioning Gone with the Wind reminded me of it. He starts talking about how, times are changing and things that used to be considered not okay, or things that used to be considered okay are considered not okay today because now we have all this woke culture and how can you blame somebody for something they did back then? And he goes on and he goes on for a couple of minutes talking about this, basically defending her going to the antebellum party and participating in that. And it came off to some people as kind of, racist. And what I thought was so odd about it, though, is so he says, maybe we'll come back to it tomorrow and I'll play the actual clip. But he says something in the audio about, what was okay back in 2018 isn't necessarily okay today because of woke culture. And that particular line really jumped out at me when he said that, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, back in 2018 wasn't that long ago, dude. It's only 2021. And it's barely 2021. We're only in February. What do you mean back in 2018? It just struck me as very odd because he's talking about it like it's one thing if you say, well, back in the 1960s during the civil rights movement, or, back in the 1980s before, political correctness started, or, that's one thing if you're talking about another decade or another generation. But he's sitting there like, well, back in 2018, things were different. It's like, really? In 2018? I mean, yeah, things were different. Things were always changing and evolving, but this is a couple of years ago, dude. What are you talking about? It just struck me as very odd. Like he's this old man wistfully going, back in my day, all the way back in 2018, we used to be able to have parties where we would celebrate and reminisce about how great it was when we had slavery. But today in 2021, you've got all these young whippersnappers who are woke and they don't understand. They think slavery was a bad thing, but we used to have parties back in my day in 2018 when I was a young man. It's like, Dude, I mean, it's just, I was very surprised that even as recently as 2018, I had heard of antebellum parties before, but I didn't know as recently as 2018 that was still going on. It's like, oh my God. But that's, not to make excuses or rationalizations for anything. Like, I don't want to sound like that Chris Harrington or Harrison guy, but I mean, I think some people are racist because they're just racist and they're ignorant and they need to learn not to be racist. But I also think some people are racist because they just are so entirely unself-aware that it just doesn't occur to them. And you would wonder, well, how could it possibly not occur to anyone that an antebellum party is really racist? But there are people who apparently don't get it. I mean, what do I know? I'm just a northerner. Yeah, Rocky Huber says, 2018, I miss those days, LOL. Those were the days we used to walk uphill both ways barefoot to school. Back in 2018, I was a young man back then. Now I'm old and I don't understand all this woke culture. Oh, my God. I mean, can you imagine? It's hard for me to, and not to pick on Texas, but let's pick on Texas. We have a little bit of time left. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, apparently thinks that green energy is to blame for what has happened in Texas, as they're all freezing to death in Texas. But Governor Abbott is very confused, but I bet Governor Abbott has been to an antebellum party or two in his time. Back in 2018, he probably used to go to those, or maybe even 2017, because he's pretty old. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's John C. Hopwood again.
John C. Hopwood, why do you sound so different? Are you calling from your bathroom? You sound like you're in your shower.
How did you know?
Well,
I get better reception in here.
I am a trained audio engineer. I recognize the acoustics of a bathroom.
Hey, if you have a block of time, Thursday or Friday, I'll debate you on that premise.
On what premise? That I'm a trained audio engineer?
No, on what you just said about 2018 versus 2020.
Well, we'd have to do it. Yeah. I mean, you can call in to do it. We can't have you in the studio because we're keeping a tight bubble. But if you'd like to call or Skype in, we can discuss that further. Certainly, I would love to.
Yeah, give me a time. It's not like I'm going to be defending, the flavocracy or anything. But there's some things that are interesting that I've seen in the evolution of your own consciousness over the year and over the 5 years I've known you, which would be interesting to bring up. And, of course, my own consciousness, too.
Yes.
And, it'd be about how, well, let's not get, if we start talking about consciousness, they'll think that they're on, like a Boston University public radio and turn the channel.
Yes.
We can think of a different way to talk, But
actually,
that is an interesting phenomenon.
Actually, to your point, John, Rocky Huber just says 2018, those were the days we ate Aunt Jemima pancakes and Uncle Ben's rice. So actually, yeah, things have changed since 2018, I guess. Yeah.
The quickening in consciousness that's happened in the last year is tremendous. Because if you remember, I used to co-host, or we used to be on each other's shows, and you were very much against political correctness, and one of the reasons we clicked is because I was too.
Well,
so we could delve into that. And,
I'll
send you an. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, just to correct you a little bit, and for your own sake as well, because I think we agreed on this. It's not a matter of being against political correctness. I happen to think political correctness as a concept is actually a really good idea. It's being against the weaponization and misuse of political correctness.
Right, of the absurdities that it can go to.
Yes, when it goes to extremes, and yes.
But it's interesting, like mass culture is catching up, and it's been very rapid.
Yeah.
Because of a catalyst, Donald John Trump,
Yes, absolutely.
You guys didn't grow up with the out-and-out racists. Baby boomers saw as kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It was incredible. Okay, I'll send you a message. Maybe we can, figure out a time.
Definitely.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, John.
Say hello to Jenny for me.
I will. Thank you. Thank you for the call. All right. Yes, John C. Hopwood. So we'll do that Friday on the show. Bonus points to Michael Alber because All in the Family is my favorite sitcom of all time. And he's posted some lyrics. Wasn't any welfare state. Everybody pulled their weight. G.R. Old LaSalle ran great. Those were the days. I guess what I'm stuck on is I just can't believe that as recently as 2018 they were still having antebellum parties. They're probably having them now. There's probably somewhere in Texas right now. There's probably an antebellum party happening where they're all wearing their clothes. They're all doing their cosplay thing, but around a bonfire because they're freezing to death. Back before we had all this Chinese communism, Michael says. Scott Robinson's excited. He says, yes, a John Hopwood session. Which day? That will be Friday. We're going to do that, Scott. Scott Robinson, not only a big fan of Eazy-G, but also a big fan of John Hopwood. And I saw Jenny pop up in the Facebook live chat as well. Hello. But just quickly before we wrap up, and we'll come back to this tomorrow because it's worth a bigger discussion. But, Greg, it's just wild to see. Well, first of all, what's happening in Texas, my God. I mean, and it's still going on. It's not like they just got one big winter storm that just kind of moved through. Like they're continuing to get battered with freezing rain and sub-zero temperatures. It's incredible in Texas. But Governor Greg Abbott went out of his way to make a point about, well, this is what happens when this is why. I mean, it's the absurdity of it. He says, he has to make it political. And he says, well, this is why the Green New Deal is such a bad idea because, we use wind energy in Texas and solar energy. And look what happens. Everything freezes up. And he knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He sounds like one, but he knows what he's doing. He's trying to deflect for political purposes from what has really happened. If it were only if it were the way that he presents it as, windmills of wind turbines have frozen and there's no sunshine, so the solar isn't working, which is what he's basically trying to put across there. If that were true, if that's really what had happened here, then Texas actually wouldn't be in the trouble that they're in because green energy accounts for only a fraction of Texas's energy. It's fossil fuels that are the problem. It's natural gas. The gas lines have frozen because in the state of Texas, and by the way, I don't, maybe we'll hear from Texas Mike sometime this week. He might have some input on this. By the way, I don't begrudge them. I'm not, going to sit here and make fun of Texas for not being prepared for something like this. I get it. I understand why they never expected anything like this to happen. I mean, I'm sitting here, look, I'm as shocked as anybody, and I'm someone who actually believes in science and believes in climate change and understands that climate change is what causes these extreme weather events. I get it. And even as someone who buys in, I am shocked. I am shocked at what Texas is going through. I never would have foreseen this. This is wild stuff, right? But then for Greg Abbott to try to turn it into this political thing and say, well, this is an example of why the Democrats and their green energy, that's bad. No, actually, you might have been better off. But, hopefully you learn something from this and you're better prepared in case this happens again. And by the way, if it happened once, it may happen again as the weather becomes more severe, as climate change begins to impact us more. I mean, it is incredible. It is shocking. It is absolutely shocking. Every 5 or 6 years or so, you might see on the news, oh yeah, it snowed in Houston and some cars slid off the highway, because obviously in Texas, it's so rare to have snow or freezing rain or anything like that they're just not prepared, right? So, you see those stories every 5 or 6 years maybe. You'll see a winter where, oh, wow, look, in Texas even got some bad weather. But what's happening there over several days of this, it is incredible. I don't blame them for not being prepared. I don't even blame them for taking it for granted that anything like this would ever happen. I don't. But to just say, well, it's because of green energy and this is the proof that it can't work. No, dude. Green energy is only a sliver of what you've got going on in Texas. You've got some bigger problems that you're going to have to address. I don't begrudge you that, but you're going to have to address them, because this could happen. What if this starts to happen every year now? Rocky Uber says, I saw a picture of a wind turbine that was broken down because it was leaking oil. Oh, my. Well, hey, you know what? Maybe the cancer rates will go down, because, Trump did say when wind turbines cause cancer, it's the sound. Remember that? Somehow that gives you cancer. All right. On that note, we got to get out of here. We are completely out of time. Thank you, everybody. If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And make sure you're back here tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. for the morning show with Peter White. And hopefully the Facebook will be working okay for him. And I'll talk at y'all tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Bye-bye.